Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is The Wizard of Oz. So many of us grew up with this classic film, and I just thought it would be really interesting to look at what some of the messaging might be and how it may have influenced us in our worldview. And it should be a fun exploration down memory lane for a lot of us. Anyway, if you haven't seen The Wizard of Oz, you'll have an opportunity, I hope, to go check it out. Good morning, Rosalind. Good morning, Dido. Welcome, welcome. It's great to be here with you guys. Before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells and your organs, and bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, all your electrons, and bringing light and energy into all aspects of your being, creating this brilliant beam of light out from your heart into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and softly, softly rub your fingers against your palms. Feel the deliciousness of that sensation, the tickling, the tingling, and allow that sensation to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. So welcome, welcome, welcome. The Wizard of Oz. Obviously, it is a generational thing. So there are those of you who are watching this that may not have experienced The Wizard of Oz, but it is a classic. And I actually did a little reading about that this morning. Good morning, Bernadette. Welcome and happy Friday to all of you. We're talking, I did a little bit of research about The Wizard of Oz this morning, and it was really interesting because I found that there were all kinds of political undertones to a lot of the symbolism, potentially anyway, a lot of the symbolism in the film. And one of the things that I found really interesting is that Baum, who wrote The Wizard of Oz, his mother was a suffragette. And so one of the things about The Wizard of Oz is, you know, you have this really, really strong female role and maybe role model. So the film was called one of the first feminist stories, one of the first feminist films that that we've experienced. You know, if you think about it, all the super strong characters were women, right? There was Dorothy and the witches, and when you look at the Tin Man and the Cowardly Lion and the Straw Man, they were all flawed characters, right? So the Scarecrow, I can't believe I forgot the word scarecrow for a second there. Anyway, they were all they were flawed characters, and I guess all of them were. But anyway, I thought that was really interesting. And then if we look at the spiritual aspects of this, and I hope you guys will chime in, you know, about the parts of The Wizard of Oz that you remember. But we talked about it a little bit yesterday, and it just seemed like it would be a rich topic to sort of mine more deeply. But it starts out with Dorothy being disenchanted with her life, and it was in black and white, right? Sometimes our daily lives just feel bereft of color, right? Not particularly vibrant. And so if we talk about this in the context of a hero's journey, you know, or a heroine's journey in this case, or a shero, then what do we notice? You know, we find dissatisfaction with our lives the way they are, or there's certain things that are unacceptable in our lives. In Dorothy's case, it was that her dog Toto was going to be taken away because it had bitten a nasty neighbor. And I'm talking about the movie because I'm not so sure about the book. I haven't read the book. So Bernadette says, I felt the main message of that movie was you always have the answers. You just have to believe. And so I think that I'm in agreement with you there, Bernadette, you know, where there's no place like home, there's no place like home. And we can consider that is our own highest wisdom, coming home to ourselves, perhaps, right? I mean, I'm not saying that I have any definitive answers on what any of this symbology is, but I just thought it would be fun to dig into it together. And I think it's got a lot of rich messaging in it, this movie. So we start out with being dissatisfied with life as it is, right? And wanting something more, and knowing that certain things are unacceptable. And so Dorothy sets off on an adventure and she meets the wizard, or this man who's got the carnival, right? and then the storm comes, and what she experiences is like an introduction to the possibilities of another world, in a way. So Bernadette says everything is in reach if you just look and listen to your gut. Well, I'm inclined to agree with you that we have this innate wisdom, and I think that that's what the movie was about in a lot of ways, is coming home, coming back to our own wisdom rather than putting our faith in externalities necessarily. So let's talk more about it. I want to hear more about what you think about it. So anyway, what happens is Dorothy goes home because she's afraid that Auntie Em is sick or dying. And meantime, her family's gone into a root cellar to protect themselves from the cyclone. And Dorothy ends up back in the house, and then the house, she gets knocked out by flying furniture, and the house flies into the cyclone. And she sees Miss Gulch, who is the woman who was going to have Toto put down. And then all of a sudden, the cyclone stops and the house drops. And when she opens the door, she's in a colorful, brilliant, bright world with all kinds of magical things happening in it. And she has all these experiences. So Rosalind says, the Wicked Witch of the West, I forgot what the role that character plays. So Miss Gulch is the one who wanted to get Toto put down because he bit her. And so she became the Wicked Witch of the West in Dorothy's experience in Oz. And So Dido says, I like the dog who might represent the animal or instinctual nature of being. He's in jeopardy, such as being taken away to be put down. That's brilliant, Dido. Brilliant, brilliant. And one of the things that I read in the things I was looking up this morning was that Toto actually was warning on multiple occasions in the movie, was warning Dorothy of dangers. So I love that perspective that maybe it's our instinctual nature, Toto, and that we're protecting that instinctual nature. Interesting, interesting. So then what happens is, so Dorothy lands in Oz, or well, in Munchkin Land. And there are these wonderful little people that are welcoming her, and Glinda, the Good Witch of the North. And I wish I knew more about the symbolism of the directions, but I would imagine that that would come to play in our interpretation. There were all kinds of political and financial interpretations based on workers and the workers' movement, and the going off the silver-backed dollar and all kinds of other things. But I think it'll be more fun for us to be looking at the potential spiritual type journey questions here, especially because I'm not particularly well schooled in the politics of the era there. So Bernadette says, when we follow our own beliefs does not mean we are free of obstacles, trying times, and figuring out if our choices are worthy to obtain our goals, or if it's a choice based in fear. Yes, so for sure, we get to being circumspect about the choices that we make, right? So anyway, what happens is that that the house falls. When the house falls, it falls on the Wicked Witch of the East and kills her. And that's why the Munchkins are freed, because they were under the oppression or the oppressive rule of the Wicked Witch of the East. And so that's where the ruby slippers came from. So the Wicked Witch of the East had these magic slippers, and the image it's emblazoned on my head is this house fell on the witch, and what's sticking out are her stockinged legs with the ruby slippers on them. And then all of a sudden, the ruby slippers show up on Dorothy's feet, and she can't even, nobody can take them off of her. So the ruby slippers are now on Dorothy's feet, and the feet of the Wicked Witch of the East just sort of shrivel up under the house and disappear. And so what's the story? I'm not sure of all the important, like all the correlations. I'd love your input here. So the Good Witch of the North, Glinda, tells Dorothy that she's now made an enemy of the Wicked Witch of the West, and that she needs to, and Dorothy wants to get home. And Glinda says, good morning, Isabel. Welcome. It's great to have you here with us. We're talking about the Wizard of Oz. Glinda tells her that she needs to go see the Wizard of Oz, because the Wizard of Oz is a wise man who can get her home. And so Dorothy starts out on this trip on the yellow brick road. Well, so in my reading, the yellow brick road could also be a symbol for the golden path, the path that we follow to enlightenment. And maybe not, but it could be. And so along this yellow brick road, Dorothy encounters different elements. So if this is the hero's or shero's or heroine's journey, she encounters the scarecrow And the scarecrow wants a brain. He doesn't have a brain. So there's a level of intelligence that the scarecrow is seeking for, a level of awareness. And then she meets the Tin Man, and the Tin Man has no heart, because he and I didn't realize this actually, but apparently the Wicked Witch of the West, I think, had enchanted his axe so that he ended up losing limbs. They kept getting replaced and he became this Tin Man, but he had no heart. So he wasn't connected to his heart. And then the Cowardly Lion was a lion who was fierce but had no courage. And so when we think about a hero's journey, what are the elements of that? We're looking to integrate body, mind, and spirit, right? And connect to our own deepest intelligence, and have that connected and be guided by our heart. And certainly taking on the path of the hero's journey, or the path of enlightenment, or awareness, requires lots and lots of courage. So Bernadette says, or the consulate becomes the person who can bring you back, LOL. So that's interesting, where you're talking about, well, she's looking outside herself, right? To go to the Wizard of Oz, to come back home, to find herself. And how many of us have looked to gurus or teachers, and ultimately we come to a realization that it is a matter of bringing ourselves back to our own self, our own highest wisdom, rather than giving our higher authority to another, right? I mean, we can have teachers, but ultimately we need to create this inner integration. So along this trip, there's all kinds of obstacles, one of which is the trees. So I think it was Dorothy who picked an apple, and the trees got really angry and started throwing apples at all of them. And that could be our lack of connection to nature, and maybe nature rebelling. And what else happened was there was a poppy field, and walking through the poppy field, which maybe, I don't know, what could that be? It could be illusion, but it put Dorothy to sleep, so that we all can end up at our in our sleepfulness, not being awake to what's available to us in the world. And then Glinda makes it snow, so that quells the effect of the poppies and allows Dorothy to awaken. So Rosalind says, Tin Man's journey was heart. Self-love is an important lesson for self. Yes, and being connected to our heart, our knowing, our beingness. Anyway, so they get to Oz finally, and it's fantastical. It's colorful, horses of many colors, just all kinds of fanfare and beauty and hopefulness. And then Dorothy, so Bernadette says, so everyone in the world has a purpose. Absolutely, everyone in the world has a purpose, and this is what we get to discover for ourselves. And Dido says, yes, the hero's journey is about a series of challenges, getting ever greater, helping you grow even more into your fullest potential, needing all our intelligence, courage, body, heart, and spirit, 100%. So as, I love it, Dido. So as Dorothy is on this journey, she's collecting all the aspects that she needs to embolden in herself for her transformational journey. And then she gets to Oz, and the wizard refuses to see her. And so finally, she gets an audience, or they get an audience, and they ask for a heart, a brain, courage, and for Dorothy to go home. And the wizard says, okay, I'll grant you your wishes, but you need to go get the Wicked Witch's broom. And I think I'm going to need your help to get through this, because I don't know if we're going to have time to get to the very end. So anyway, they go. Good morning, Lisa. We're talking about the Wizard of Oz. And so far we've gotten to Oz, and now Dorothy needs to go get the witch's broom. And so they're hunting. They're going to the castle. They're going to go and try and break into the castle to get the witch's broom. And I don't remember at which point it is, but the witch gets Toto somehow. My memory here is a little confused, but anyway, let's go back. So they storm the castle, or they find their way into the castle, and then there's a confrontation where the witch is holding Dorothy hostage, and is that how it goes? Anyway, I remember the timer. The sand is running through this giant timer, and time is running out. And then the witch goes and tries to chase Toto, and somehow Toto's the dog, and somehow there's water nearby, and Dorothy throws water at the witch, or knocks something over, and water splashes on the witch, and it melts the witch. And then they grab the witch's broom to take back to the wizard. Meantime, I don't know about you, but the flying monkey scene that we passed over here, where the flying monkeys were chasing down and captured Dorothy, it was really, really terrifying. So there were these monkeys that flew in like a flock of them, chasing down and capturing Dorothy at one point. So Bernadette says, release the monkeys. Anyway, the monkeys were really scary, but as soon as the witch died, the monkeys were freed. And it turns out that they then went to help Dorothy, because they had been kind of under the spell of the witch. And it's interesting, like this can be the awakening, that when we conquer our fears, then there's this greater and greater sense of freedom. So what happens is, I'm going to have to make short of this, I think. What happens is that Dorothy and Troop take the broom back to the wizard, and it turns out that the wizard is just a whole bunch of smoke and mirrors. And even with his smoke and mirrors, he's able to give the Scarecrow and the Lion and the Tin Man their brain and courage and heart. But for Dorothy, he can't really help her get home. And then he ends up flying away in his balloon. It turns out that he was something of a charlatan. And this is like looking outside yourself for the answers. Glinda shows up and said, Dorothy, you've always had the power in yourself to be able to take yourself back home. And this is our story of awakening, right? That we have the capacity and the everything we need to awaken within ourselves, that it's ever present. And so Dorothy, with her ruby slippers, clicks her heels, saying there's no place like home, there's no place like home, there's no place like home. And then you see her waking up in her bed in Kansas with Auntie Em and all the people that showed up in her adventures in Oz were all people in her world. And it brought her to a place of presence and appreciation in her life, finding home within herself. So I'm wondering, whatever. So Bernadette says, just click your heels 3 times and repeat, no place like home. Exactly. Lisa says, didn't know where you were going, but nice wrap up. Thanks. Thanks. I appreciate it. And we did it under the wire, which is kind of awesome. But, I think often about these movies that I watched so much as a kid and wondering, like, what was the programming that came as a result of those things. Another one, it was Mary Poppins, which I watched a million times. And I think that that's had a big influence on my thinking too. Anyway, I think it's a really interesting thing to be looking at that story in the context of what transformation. And anyway, fun. Great way to start off the weekend. I wish you guys an amazing weekend. And I look forward. Yeah. So Bernadette says subliminal messages. Yes, because we're about to, we receive these messages without necessarily knowing. Lisa says, this Dorothy is about to leave home. I'm having major anxiety. I need courage. Well, it's within you, Lisa. It's within you. You get to know that home is where you are. I think that's really part of the message. Home is within us. Anyway, I just want to say thank you. This was fun today. I really appreciate it. And we wish you courage, Lisa, and joy and comfort in your new home. And I invite everybody else all of you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. I go live each weekday morning here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. So until we meet again next week, hopefully, please check out the other great stuff on Enlightened World Network, Enlightened World Living, EWN One with the Earth. And Lisa, that's exciting. In just a week, you'll be living there. How amazing. Make it a door to a whole new life with all the goodness that you've dreamt of. So much love to you guys. I wish you a great weekend and hope to see you again.